What is going on, guys? CJ here and welcome back to Stalcraft. In today's video, we're going to talk about the future of the game directly from the developer's mouth. For those of you that missed it, recently, the developer or the head of Stalcraft, Ziv, talked about the game and a lot of the things that are coming in the future. Things like dungeons, upcoming gear, their plans with a lot of the current mechanics in the game, and a lot more. So I wanted to talk to you all about this, seeing as we have the translation to everything he had to say. Now, do keep in mind, a lot of these things can change with time, but so far we have a lot of reason to think that these are going to be changes that are coming in the future, and I'm pretty pleased with a lot of them. Kicking things off with, will there be a guaranteed blueprint drop on events? Recently, we just had an event, and y'all know my take on these events. They add these rare master tier guns that are almost impossible to get for a lot of the player base. I myself have never been able to get one of these guns, but basically what they said is that they're trying to fight against the fact that it could happen where players open thousands and thousands of crates and they never get anything. That's not normal, and they are going to fight against that to make it easier. Now, they were kind of vague about this, but they did say that people that have pulled parts of the blueprints in the last version of that event will have a better chance of pulling the master gun they need on the next event. Now, I don't know if they mean the next time the same event comes around or the next event. I really don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how they would even up the odds or whatever, but hey, they are fighting against the fact that players can open thousands of crates and not get anything. So that's already a plus. I'm glad they at least acknowledge this because let's be real, the crate system in these events is dog shit. Let's move on to the next part of the thing. Do you plan to expand the assortment of crimson casings? And they said, in general, various ways to get top mastery gear are planned. We've only introduced blueprints so far, but we'll slowly expand the ways to get blueprints, and of course, new content will be introduced. Now, they're planning to add a seasonal battle pass. This is actually pretty good. As we know, the current battle pass system comes around with the events, and they did say they're planning to rehash this system and make it a seasonal battle pass only, and that's actually pretty exciting. I don't know if they're gonna have the seasonal battle pass and also event battle pass, but from what I had heard, they're only gonna have seasonal battle pass. We'll see when it actually comes around. And now that we talked about it, when will the seasonal battle pass get released? It is planned for spring. So in spring, we will see the first iteration of the seasonal battle pass, and there's a lot of things that are going to be coming in with the seasonal battle pass, which is kind of interesting. They did say new guns, attachments, and other things will be introduced in the seasonal battle pass, which is great, but it also lets me think if they're going to be introducing all these new guns and gear and items through the battle pass and not through the barter tree. So we'll see how they average that out. Will there be a redesign of the gold airdrops? Our team is currently monitoring this. We'll obviously be working on this activity, and gold airdrops will certainly not be the only way to get the items that are currently being dropped from it. This is huge in my personal opinion, and the reason I say this is because Stalcraft, while great and having a lot of content, it's a very small game. We can still say it's an indie game where certain crews run certain areas of the game, and it pretty much excludes the rest of the player base from ever getting certain items. And while that is optimal, to have something that you want to fight for, when it's such a small percentage of the player base, it pretty much makes it so people don't even get to see these items. So the fact that they're adding other ways to get the things that come from the gold airdrops is really good. Whether it's signals, whether it's more gold airdrops in different parts of the map, regardless, that's really good. I'm excited to see how it is that they add these items from gold airdrops to other sources in the games, be it the dungeons, be it signals, or whatever it may be. Now, they asked, will the servers be brought to a unified look and when? And they said, we're on our way to accomplishing that. The main problem we have to solve is in what form loot box based unique gear will appear in-game receipt. We are currently solving this problem, and it will appear on both RU and global. So they pretty much kind of said that loot box will be coming to global. Now, I don't know how, I don't know when, and I don't know how exactly they're going to implement this, but they did say that that's going to happen. We can say that the game will come to a unified state, but it's not a fact that we will cut out loot boxes on RU. So they're not going to cut out the paid donation crates from RU, and the ones that they might add on global might be completely different. It is a significant part of their income, which just cannot come to a halt. They were specific about this. RU will not change in that matter, and whatever comes to global will be a little bit different. That's what makes it hard to unite RU with global, but they are planning to make it so content-wise, we're on the same note, whether it's gear, weapons, and all that good stuff. But they will say, I would not say that Stalcraft would look unified for all regions. RU might be a little bit different from NA, EU, and Southeast Asia based on the content and the crates that they run on RU. Then he was asked, will there be a fight against macros? He said, we have several areas of our security department. It has different problems that it has to deal with, but specifically with macros. The problem is that there is no one to take an example from, because even games like Rust, where there is an active fight against macros, their methods don't work there completely. So with macros, it's like this. There are different prototypes that we are testing. We even have time to try AI anti-cheats, which were disappointing. We try different things, see what works, and if it works, we introduce it. So basically, they are going to be fighting even more against cheats, but you know, cheaters be cheating, and they find ways to, you know, cheat. They find new ways to do things the easy way, and they're going to keep finding ways to do things the easy way, but they did say they are going to try to fight more against this, especially against macros. The next thing, will there be global rebalances in the future? Civ said, we try to make sure we have fewer balance adjustments. At the very least, we try to avoid any global rebalances of armor and weapons. The longer we will be without rebalances, the better players will heal wounds from abrupt stat changes, and they will be more comfortable farming their gear. I really like the way he said this, because let's be honest. We've had some huge rebalances, and they pretty much shifted the meta, and they made things completely different, where players could have a certain gear in mind, and then when they did the rebalance, it went to shit. There are several weapons, for example, the PKP, that used to be absolute meta in RU. A lot of players built this gun, and by the time the rebalance came out, they took a whole dump on the PKP, and now everybody regrets building the PKP. So things like this were very damaging to the community. Same with a lot of armor, and let's not even talk about artifacts. They completely took a dump on our artifacts. So the fact they said heal wounds from abrupt stat changes is kind of nice. They did say though, before major reworks of the game, they had a different approach to it. We had a sandbox Stalcraft. After the rework, Stalcraft became an MMO. Because of this, there were rebalances, which I completely agree. Stalcraft, before it came to global, was a very different game. It used to be a sandbox. People would explore the open world and do whatever they had to do. It was never meant to feel fully like an MMO. I mean, it's been going on for 9 years and they never had raids. They never had all these MMO-ish features until we started asking for them and everybody started pushing for it. So that's why the rebalances came around, and that's why a lot of the things were changed. But they are hoping that this is not a thing that continues to happen. There will be some big changes, some big reworks in the future, but they are planning for things to stay consistent after that. When the North rebuild and the new character animations will be released. So Civ said, the rebuild of the North is planned for next year and makes sense that it's scheduled to coincide with Stalcraft's birthday. At the moment, we are throwing almost all of our free resources in order to meet all these deadlines. That means that our plans have not changed. They have been like this for some time, and the closer this update is to the release date, the more it will detour all other updates. We probably won't have much updates in the spring. The rebuild itself won't be released alone. The whole map needs to be rebuilt for the new animations because we won't have a super high jump hold space. The map rebuild is explicitly tied to the North rebuild, so they're going to have a lot of different things that are going to change with the rebuild. I know a lot of you have seen the movement, the graphic updates, and a lot of the things that are going to make the game feel a lot different. Now, they did say Pripyat, if anything, we're not releasing it with the North rebuild. We can't physically pull it out yet, but it will come someday. So, North rebuild, new movement animations, bunch of new things, and Pripyat confirmed coming in the future. When? We don't know, but it is coming in the future. When will the new format replayable dungeon come out? And this is one of my most anticipated features that I have said will save Stalcraft. They said, we already have a prototype. Playtests are already running, but we don't have enough time to release it before the new year, so it will come out later. Basically, next year, we will see the dungeons. It could be at the beginning, middle, or end of the year, but dungeons are already being tested. They have prototypes, and hopefully they will be getting added to the game. I have told them multiple times, we do not need raids right away. We need dungeons, multiple dungeons, where people can get into the game and test them out all the way from freaking Cordon. All the way from Cordon to the bar to endgame. Will there be a show reel? 2024. Civ said we won't be doing them anymore. It's mostly me, Civ, who handles those videos, and I'm responsible for setting the goals there. Practice over the last 2 years has shown that somehow things don't work out very well. So basically there will not be a show reel for 2024. After this, he was asked, will there be an increase in the minimum requirements for the game? He said, we have updated the graphics engine, and as in the case for artificial intelligence, we have rolled out some base which we will further customize in general. We have to raise the system requirements when switching to a new graphics engine in order to open up the opportunities for working with graphics. So they are improving the game. They are improving the way the games look. This is coming with the 3D trees and the updated North. So a lot of the things will change in the future with that. Will the old radio host return? Archon Zuza, his voice belongs to our former community director, and since we have no special ties with him, we switched to a new radio host to make it easier to record. Some new phrases, and specifically phrases for Archon Zuza, were written by me, and phrases by Radii were written by our narrative writers. If someone likes Zuza's phrases better, there is no problem with me adding some phrases to the new host. So basically, they will not return, they're going to add a brand new host. This is an interesting question. Why is it taking so long for new models for super heavy armor to come out? They said, since super heavy armor is much harder to make compared to other armors, the development time is about 2 months per modeler. People who make super heavy armor are also distracted by some other content that affects development time. Freedom will be getting their armor now, and then we'll move on to Covenant. Okay. Our Freedom boys will be getting the remodeled super heavy armor relatively soon. Please make it look good. And yes, I am Freedom. Feel free to join Freedom, best faction, or the Stalkers. Will the 3D models from Stalcraft be in the general public access? At the moment, we're looking at preparing a model pack and putting it on the marketplace for free. We just need to be legally correct about commercial use. When will the other talking head come in to replace Ziv? That's a pretty dirty question to ask the homie Ziv. And he says, I can work with you because I've been brewing with you for about 9 years. Soon to be 10 years. I have a lot of experience with the community, and it will be very difficult for a new person because it's necessary to cook. He says he's cooking up in here in this business for a long time to get some clear, direct dialogue. So basically, it's going to be really hard to get someone else to talk to us apart from Ziv because he's been doing it for so long. Next question was, when is the new PDA coming? He said PDA is not a priority at the moment. They do have a whole bunch of changes. They're going to redesign the whole thing menu by menu sooner or later, but currently it's not one of their priorities. Will there be an alleviation of the barter? And he says there will be changes. Things like Crapite and Pickle will be merging with side locations, and bartering in general will be changing. They did say they're going to make it easier to craft your gear, seeing as the end game is pretty much other things in the game, whether it be the artifacts or crafting some of the new things that are going to come in the future. It should not take so long to craft your gear. Will Steam players have access to the OTS servers? They said there is no point. It is beneficial for us to attract people to our launcher, so we'll not make any special OTS for Steam players. That kind of sucks. Personally, I wish we had test servers so we can test out upcoming changes, events, guns, artifacts, rebalances, all that good stuff. But hey, it is what it is. The next question was, is there going to be a test range? They said it's also not a priority. I personally think they should add it. Committing to making a 75, 90 serum gun, even if they bring it down to 50 serum gun, that's several days, several weeks to get that serum, and then not liking it because you can't test it anywhere is kind of ass. So I wish we could at least test it, especially because they already have shooting ranges in the game. When will you fix artifact spawns so they don't spawn outside of the map? That's just a weird question. It's a game that's massive. There are bugs like that, but they did say that it's possible that it can happen even though it's supposed to be fixed. But they will be working on it a little bit more. The next question was, will 3D trees be introduced to the game? And they said you should expect 3D trees on the reworked north. So like I said, they're reworking the north so it's better, bigger, all that good stuff, but also they're adding the 3D trees to the rework, which is really good because I feel that Stalcraft is a game that's really freaking good. And oftentimes people look at the trailers, at the gameplay, and the first thing they look at is the trees, and they say Minecraft. When you look at the gun models, it's first person, so when you look at the gun models, they don't look like Minecraft. Sure, you have a little stubby, blocky hand, but the guns, they're very nicely detailed. So the fact they're adding 3D trees to the north will change everything. A lot of people are going to look at Stalcraft and they're going to be like, okay, it might not be Minecraft with guns. So that's pretty big. The next thing they were asked is, the marathon and the Crows Arena came out to be successful, and they said, yes, we consider both of these events a success. So, as I told you guys, the event models were great. The gear that came from it was great. Overall, they were really good. I kind of find it disappointing that they did not add the Blizzard event in here because, in my opinion, now that I've played the marathon and the Crows Arena, the Blizzard event was honestly one of the best. I will say, though, the Blizzard event had a little bit of a rework to be done, which was the time phase, which you had to sit there and defend the installations. But apart from that, if they were to shorten that to about 10 minutes, the event would be absolutely top tier. So their event modes, the mapping, everything has been great. When will there be an extension of the barter branches? We do need more stuff. So they said, maybe some guns won't make it in time, and the extension of the barter branches may come later than the attachment rebalance. The attachment rebalance has been happening since 1994. Overall, it's planned, but it's not a sure thing that everything will come out at once. In general, the rebalance of attachments is aimed at closing all the holes in the attachments, and if they cannot be closed by attachments, they will be closed by weapon stats. Alright, we still don't really know when, but it should be coming in the future. Will master tier knives ever be in barter? A total overhaul of the knives is planned. They tried to make some adjustments to the speed, but the demand for them didn't increase much after that. In the end, they want to make knives useful in PvP amongst other things. I have said knives are really cool in this game. Things like the samurai sword we just got just goes to waste because you can't kill anything with them. Like, if you want to kill a dog, one little dog in the north, you have to sit there stabbing it like 5 times. By then, a dog will probably kill you or lower your health to a dramatical low point. So, I hope they do a good job with the knives. Will the New Year's Eve event be like it was last year? And they said the New Year's Eve event will be similar to the one last year indeed. So, basically, we're going to be getting some little goodies, some dude that gives us a very common outfit, and there's probably going to be a Christmas tree somewhere, and that's it. Why did they nerf the VSS? The fact that the damage was changed to emphasize on distance is not considered a nerf, and the fact that it's got a little bit of damage transferred into magazine was not planned as a nerf. Now they've buffed it a bit. It should now perform about the same as the other 45 serum guns. Along them, it is quite fine. So basically they said they weren't really planning to do that. It was fixed now. It does what it's supposed to be doing for a 45 serum gun, but that's about it regarding the VSS. Where's the sledgehammer from the backwater teaser? It will be available in Stalcraft in some sort of subdivision related activity that hasn't been released yet. The next thing is, will there be special clan wars for top clans? Already planned, and there will come out at some point, but won't make it this year. So we won't be seeing all those good things for clan wars this year. How was focus group change after the reforms. So basically the focus group was how they structured new content, how they play test several things, and they said at the moment it is a structured group, something similar to testers. Only we do not test for bugs and problems, but carry out, sort of say, cringe control of bad mechanics and ideas. That's pretty much what they do. They don't really test out for bugs and things like that, but they play the game, they see how it is, they have ideas, brainstorm, all that good stuff. Why are all the recent events team-based? Because when we design an event, we usually look at the references. That is, we look for some cool and interesting mode that could adapt to Stalcraft. We paid attention to team games because there are more of them than games assigned for solo. I would also like to point out that specifically on Dead Man's Marathon, we had a system that separated the pre-assembled squads from the randoms. In other words, if you played with randoms, you were also opposed by randoms. Now, it's just a game that focuses in team play. Even though when you start the game, it has literally zero emphasis on team play, squatting up and anything, and you really only begin to see a, I guess, use of squads when you get to the sub factions, and the whole middle beginning of the game is solo play. The end game of Stalcraft is a squad based game. Clans, clan wars, backwater, all that stuff is for teams, so that's why they go that route when it comes to these events. Will there be zoning of locations? The current North was not originally designed for 4 factions and their confrontation. The new North will be built specifically for those needs, and there will be clear separation into zones that are slightly more calm, slightly dangerous zones, and the most dangerous of zones. So they are gonna expand the North and make it so that some zones are very calm and it's going to be harder for people to get all the way over there to PvP, while there are going to be other zones that are clearly going to be focused on fighting and just dangerous things. When are the developer diaries? We are currently in active development, probably coming out soon, at least the first part. And I think that's really everything that we can talk about. There are some other things. Well, with the void in the game, we see an example of how this is used in Tarkov. In Tarkov, in principle, it has taken root, but in Tarkov in general, there is a strict shifting of the audience and only non-casuals remain there. Our game is designed for the mass users, and therefore the more you have such a mass audience, the more trolls with Baz boosts will run around the game. Will there be a change in Freedom's voiceovers? I'll say even more, there might be a reconceptualization of Freedom itself. So they might change what we stand for in Freedom. They might take our whole grow house from our little underground base, which kind of sucks, but we'll see what happens. Will there be a redesign of the auction? At the moment, the priority of rework the auction is lower than the priority to rework the GUI objects. For now, it's on hold until we find some free hands, so it's not even part of what they're worrying about. When are the new emissions? Somewhere very deep in the drawer. We are developing it, but it is not a particularly high priority. Emissions are planned to have at least a change in visuals once again. Will modules from Dead Times Marathon appear in the main game? The probability is there, but not in the same way. Don't be afraid, there won't be any homing rounds flying around. We realize that we still need to balance it out also from a game perspective standpoint, so it doesn't turn into a battle of mages. So basically, if you guys missed it, there's a lot of cool things going on in Dead Man's Marathon, a lot of really cool perks to the guns, and a lot of people were amazed by these perks. They were in love with these perks and the idea of how it turned the game more into an MMO-ish type of game, and they are aware of that. They are aware that we want that in the game, but like they said, there won't be homing rounds and things like that because they don't want it to be a battle of the mages. They still want it to be a shooter first and foremost. Will there be a buff to super heavy armor? Yes, balancing department already knows that the super heavy armor has lost its meaning and something will be done about it. There are several ideas and some of them are already close to realization. For example, there are ideas to make the use of machine guns while wearing super heavy armor more comfortable. That's not all, but I can't say anything about the others yet, but it is in the works. Now, we've talked a lot. There's a lot of things in here. So, let me know if something was not mentioned. What do you want to see in the future of Stalcraft? Anything. Let me know in the comment section below. Honestly, I was pretty pleased with everything they talked about, and the reason I made this video is because a lot of you guys out there don't have disinformation. Y'all don't know what's going on. And I wanted to share with you, Stalcraft, while has its problems, while it does have a lot of things that hold the game back, there is a lot of things that are looking bright for the future. I did always say over the past year, Stalcraft still feels like it's in beta. And given the things that Civ said, it pretty much was. It went from being a sandbox type of game to an MMO. And the more it's evolving, it's shifting more towards an MMO. They're trying to accommodate the game for the masses and not its hardcore dedicated player base. They're trying to make things more separate to where people can enjoy solo play, can enjoy calm grind. They're adding dungeons so people aren't forced to PvP all the time. Overall, I'm really excited with Stalcraft's future, and I'm looking forward to see what it has to offer. But for now, if you've enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on bell notifications, and remember, we always go live on Twitch with Stalcraft, especially when they do drops. If you want to make sure you get your drops, there ain't no better channel than my own. So for now, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and peace.